Welcome to Curious Kids HQ, the place where curious minds come to explore, discover, and learn. Are you ready to dive into amazing adventures filled with fun facts, cool science, awesome history, and so much more? Whether you're curious about the wonders of space, the mysteries of the deep ocean, or how things work, we've got you covered. Once upon a time, in a classroom full of curious students, there was a teacher named Mr. Lewis. He loved telling stories that helped his students learn new things. One day, one of his students, Lily, asked a question that made the whole class wonder. "Mr. Lewis," she said, "what does it mean when someone says they have a high IQ?" Mr. Lewis smiled. "Ah, that's a great question, Lily. Let me tell you a story that will help explain what IQ means and why it's important." The children all leaned in closer, eager to hear the story. Many years ago, Mr. Lewis began, there was a scientist named Alfred Binet. He lived in France in the early 1900s, and he was very interested in how people think and learn. You see, back then, schools were trying to figure out how to help children learn better, especially those who had trouble keeping up with the lessons. So Alfred Binet created a test. This test wasn't like the tests you take in school. It was designed to measure how well people could think, solve problems, and understand the world around them. He believed that intelligence wasn't just about memorizing facts, but about how well we use our minds to figure things out. Binet's test became known as an intelligence test, or an IQ test. IQ stands for Intelligence Quotient. Now, this might sound complicated, but it's really just a way to measure how smart someone is in comparison to others. If you imagine that everyone has a toolbox in their mind, an IQ test helps to see how well someone can use their tools to solve puzzles and challenges. Mr. Lewis paused for a moment, looking around the room at the eager faces of his students. "Now," he continued, "here's something important to remember. Having a high IQ doesn't mean someone is better than anyone else. It just means that they are good at solving certain kinds of problems. For example, some people are really good at solving math problems, while others are great at figuring out how machines work. IQ tests measure different types of thinking, like logic, memory, and reasoning. And guess what? Just like our muscles can get stronger when we exercise, our minds can get stronger when we practice thinking. That's why school and learning are so important. The more we use our brains, the better we get at solving problems and understanding new things." The class nodded, understanding that IQ was just one part of what made someone smart. Mr. Lewis could see that they were following along, so he decided to go a little deeper. "You see," he said, "after Alfred Binet created his test, many other scientists around the world began to study intelligence too. They wanted to improve the test and make sure it was fair for everyone. That's how the modern IQ test came to be. Today, people of all ages can take an IQ test, but it's usually done when someone is at least 6 years old. By that age, our brains have developed enough to understand more complex ideas and to solve trickier problems." "But Mr. Lewis," another student, Jake, asked, "why is IQ important? What does it do?" "Great question, Jake," Mr. Lewis replied. "IQ can help in many ways. For example, schools sometimes use IQ tests to help decide which students might need extra help with their learning, or which students might need more challenging work. IQ can also help doctors and psychologists understand how a person thinks, so they can provide the right kind of support. But remember, IQ is just one piece of the puzzle. It's not the only thing that matters." The students looked a bit puzzled, so Mr. Lewis explained further. "Imagine that intelligence is like a big, beautiful tree. The tree has many branches, right? IQ is just one of those branches. Other branches might represent creativity, kindness, determination, or even how well you work with other people. All of these things are important to make the tree strong and healthy. So, while IQ can help us understand how someone thinks, it doesn't tell the whole story about who they are. You can have a high IQ, but still need to work on other things, like how to be a good friend or how to stay positive when things get tough. And that's okay. We all have different strengths, and that's what makes us unique." Lily raised her hand again. "So, Mr. Lewis, does everyone have the same IQ?" "No, Lily," Mr. Lewis answered kindly. "Everyone has a different IQ, just like we all have different talents. Some people have higher IQs, and some have lower IQs, But that doesn't mean one person is better than another. It just means they have different ways of thinking. And guess what? Even if someone has a lower IQ, it doesn't mean they can't do amazing things. Some of the most successful and creative people in the world didn't have the highest IQs, but they worked hard, believed in themselves, and followed their dreams. That's why it's so important to never give up and to keep trying your best, no matter what. Everyone's brain is special, and we all have something valuable to offer. The students were quiet for a moment, thinking about everything Mr. Lewis had said. Finally, Jake spoke up again. So IQ helps us know how good we are at thinking, but it doesn't tell us everything, right? Exactly, Jake, Mr. Lewis said with a smile. IQ is just one part of who we are. What's most important is that we keep learning, growing, and using our minds in the best way we can. So whether your IQ is high, low, or somewhere in the middle, remember that you have the power to make a difference in the world, and that's something no test can ever measure. The classroom filled with nods and smiles as the students understood the story of IQ. They realized that while IQ was important, it was just one part of the big picture of who they were. And with that, Mr. Lewis ended the lesson, proud of the knowledge he had shared with his curious students. Thanks for watching, curious kids. We hope you had as much fun learning with us as we did with you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a big like. And don't forget to share this video with your friends so they can join the adventure too. And of course, subscribe to Curious Kids HQ so you never miss out on the fun. Hit that notification bell so you're always first to know when we post new videos. Stay curious, keep exploring, and we'll see you in the next adventure.